Slumber Party Massacre is a 1982 cult classic slasher that produced 2 sequels and cemented itself as an 80s classic. The film was produced by Roger Corman and directed by Amy Jones, which was definitely rare for the early 80s, having a female director helming a slasher flick. It's an entertaining slasher that features some memorable scenes and some stylistic flair, but ultimately comes off like the Halloween ripoff that it was intended to be, albeit a little more bloody and a little more gratuitous. An escaped mass murderer, Russ Thorne, kills a repairwoman and steals her van. After killing a teen in the high school, Russ Thorne sets his sights on Trish, a high schooler who is throwing a slumber party while her parents are away. Russ isn't the only party crasher, as a group of horny boys also crash the slumber party. One by one, the high schoolers are picked off by Russ and his weapon of choice, a power drill. Can Trish survive the Slumber Party Massacre? Slumber Party Massacre is a fun slasher movie. The film features some cool kills, a crazy-eyed killer, and some decent humor. The film has an uneven tone of being violently serious but also intentionally comedic. That contradictory tone probably comes from the fact the screenplay was originally written as a spoof of slasher movies, in particular John Carpenter's Halloween. The filmmakers decided to turn the script into a standard slasher by adding violence and nudity, but kept much of the comedic dialogue and humor. This can be seen as a strength of the film, as the humor does lend the film some uniqueness and does make the film more engaging, but on the negative side, the once blatant spoofing of Halloween in the original script makes the movie feel even more like a ripoff of Halloween, coming off very unoriginal and cliched even by 1982 standards.
Well, life goes on after all, and eating makes me feel best. When I feel bad, and boy, do I feel bad. Oh.
And if you were thinking that maybe the film wouldn't be as exploitive or gratuitous with a female director, think again, because Slumber Party Massacre is packed with TNA, including a locker room shower scene. The film even opens with a chick getting naked. The director did get some flack from critics calling her a sellout to her gender for directing such an exploitive feature. I think she created the same kind of slasher movie a lot of filmmakers were producing at that time. At the end of the day, an exploitation film is an exploitation film. To her credit, the film does feature a good helping of what horror fans want, boobs and blood. The film has a couple well-staged and suspenseful kills, as well as some effective camera shots.
You're pretty. All of you are very pretty.
Please don't do this.
I love you.
The film does differentiate itself from other slashers from the 80s by not featuring a killer in a disguise or mask. The killer isn't iconic, but his weapon of choice sure is, as it is what the series became known for. Well, the drill and the TNA. Even in the sequels, the character of the killer changes, but the weapon of choice is always a drill, including a guitar drill in the Supernatural themed Part 2. I think if the killer would have had a unique and memorable mask, it would have helped the series' popularity and branding, and it would have added a mystery whodunit aspect to the movie. But I also somewhat like the fact that it is just some dude running around with a drill killing high schoolers, so I'm split when it comes to the slasher's identity in Slumber Party Massacre. The actor playing the escaped killer did do a good job in the role with his crazy eyes, and I like the scene where he hides under a blanket, but he isn't very well developed with almost no backstory. On a side note, the director did intend for the drill to be seen and shot as a phallic weapon, stating that she always found the knife in knife kill movies to be phallic anyways. That is why at the end of the film, one of the chicks castrates the killer by cutting his drill in half. Not very subtle, but cool nonetheless. The characters in the film are rather forgettable and interchangeable. I had a hard time keeping track of which girl was who during the film's finale. In that regard, Slumber Party Massacre does have a healthy body count. I didn't sympathize with any of the characters, as I found quite a few to be unlikable besides underdeveloped. The film's musical score was composed on a Casio keyboard, and I found it to be appropriate for the budget, but it was not memorable. The film runs a swift 76 minutes, so you know the film's pacing is going to be okay. It's a lean and mean slasher. The film was released theatrically in limited release and grossed $3.6 million on a budget of $220,000. The 2 sequels that I already reviewed for the channel also were given limited releases, with both films making profits. However, the series gained much of its popularity on the home video market. thanks in large part to the trilogy of films having awesome and exploited VHS covers. This movie earns its title as a slasher semi-classic. It's not regarded as a masterpiece like Halloween or a game-changer like A Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's a cult classic that manages to do a lot of the slasher elements right, and it is entertaining. I've always had a fun time with it, and there's a reason why the series has its fans and its detractors. It's a competently made horror outing that may suffer from dumb characters, a lazy narrative, and a bad soundtrack, but it also captures a lot of what makes slasher movies entertaining and exciting. Now, I just wish filmmakers would resurrect the slumber party subgenre that ran rampant in the 80s. I would dig that.
Pizza.
I won't tell if you don't let your parents know I scared you to death. Okay? And go easy on the Mally Wally. You hear?